Hello! Welcome to this video series on how to talk to your kids about sexuality. This episode is for teachers. There are so many things that make effective health educators. There's lots of different tips and tricks to use in the classroom to make your lessons effective and memorable for your students. I've chosen just to address a few. So here are my 4 tips for how you can be an effective sexual educator. Number 1, create a safe space. Students are not going to want to talk about a topic that's taboo or awkward or weird or you name it, unless they feel safe in the room doing so. If you're not somebody that your students trust, then they're not going to want to ask you the tough questions. Students are not going to want to engage in a class if they don't feel welcomed and if they don't feel like their opinions really matter. It's your job as an educator to create an environment in which these kids all feel like they can speak freely, which they feel safe and which they feel confident in sharing their opinions and their questions. You do this by developing relationships with your students from the get-go before you get to this unit. Not only does this address teaching just the material and the curriculum, but talking to students as individuals, as people, getting to know their likes, their dislikes, their interests, the things that make them tick, really just developing a good pro-social relationship. You can do this in a variety of ways. Ask your students what they did over the weekend. Hey, yo, Jimmy, you had a basketball game, right? How did it go? Or call your students out in class using their name when asking for opinionated questions. Suzanne, I know that you've shown some interest in this area. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about it? And then don't be afraid to be yourself. Be totally authentic. The students love teachers who are real with them. Let's talk about sex, baby. I'm really weird, so I like doing weird things in my classroom. Kids may like it, they might not. But I'm authentic and I'm real, and that helps them feel that they can be the same. And that's my goal. Once this table of trust and comfort is established, your students will feel safe asking questions. They'll feel safe engaging with this topic, and they will actually want to learn more and they'll want to be a part of the learning process. Number 2, make parents a part of the process. Parents really do care about their child's education. They want to make sure that their children are learning things that are relevant, that are important, and that will help prepare them for the future. There's a couple different ways in which you can include parents in the process. You can send out a letter at the start of the unit, just kind of describing everything that you're going to talk about, the views that you have about sexuality, the ways in which you want to address healthy and unhealthy relationships, anatomy, pregnancy, STD prevention, all of the above. You can also invite parents to come talk to you about the curriculum, if they have ideas or things that they would like to share, or if they have concerns about what you're going to address. If you show the parents that you care about their involvement and that you want their opinions, then they will be much more involved in their students' education with it as well. Another great way to involve parents is by giving out homework assignments that include conversations with mom and dad. Don't just ask the students to internalize or think about all of the stuff you're talking about in class. Instead, give them assignments, give them questions and things to ask their parents so that they can formulate discussions in the home. It's really important for the curriculum they learn at school to also be addressed in the home for students to have a well-rounded education. Number 3, make your class skill-based and not knowledge-based. Students don't do well when the curriculum is presented in a way where they just have to memorize and then regurgitate information on an exam. I know I certainly didn't learn that way. Rather, make your curriculum skill-based, which means providing them a way to take what they're learning and actually use it in real life. Application comes in a lot of different forms. For example, instead of having your students list all the different types of STI and what chlamydia does versus what gonorrhea does and all the symptoms of each, ask your students to make a game plan for what they're going to do to prevent themselves from getting an STI. Or when it comes to relationships, instead of giving your students a description of what an unhealthy relationship looks like, talk about the different ways that they can break up with an unhealthy partner, or ways in which they can improve some of those red flags so that they are in a better, healthier, more cohesive relationship. The way that your students are going to get the most out of this curriculum is if you give them a toolbox for things that they can take into their future to make healthier decisions. And last but not least, consider the social norms approach when you teach. Teenagers want so badly just to feel normal, just to feel like they fit in and like they're a part of something. And so if they believe that the whole community is making a poor decision, then they are going to also make those decisions just because they want to be a part of the crowd. It's important to bust the myths that students have about each other, like thinking that every single student is drinking on the weekends, or that nobody uses a condom because it interrupts the pleasure process, or whatever it might be. When in reality, those are all lies. Show your students the statistics, or bring in other students from the school that you know are being safe and ask them to talk about their experience so that they can see that their perceptions of what everyone's doing is actually wrong. Also, your students want to be taken seriously, so give them examples of what this would look like in a healthy individual. You could tell your class that responsible Healthy and mature teenagers and adults will use protection when they engage in sexual activity because they care about their health and the health of the partner that they're with. If students believe that their peers are also using condoms, then they're going to want to use condoms. That's just a fact. So bust the myths, present the facts, and help your students realize that they can fit in without taking part in risky behavior. Help them to see that the healthy options are the best way to go, and that everybody wants to be healthy and happy. And that's it! You're on your way to becoming an effective, fun, and creative sexual health educator. Good luck and have fun!